Episode 107, Birds of Prey Movie Review. Hey, you're listening to the Visionary Variety Podcast. My name is Daniel. I'm the host of the show, and in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing the latest to the DC Cinematic Universe, Birds of Prey. I'll be discussing things that I liked about the movie, things I didn't like, as well as some deeper information about themes, characters, and the overall feeling I have about this movie. All right, well, let's get to it. Welcome to the Visionary Variety Podcast, where we cover cool stuff like photo, video, film, books, and technology. So switch on your brain and enjoy the show. All right, so I saw this movie last week with my wife, and overall, I'm going to say I liked the movie. There's a lot of hate going on about it bombing and being, a terrible movie and stupid, and I don't get that level of hate. I can understand a lot of the criticisms about the movie, but it was not a bad movie. It was funny, it was fun, it was exciting. Oh, and by the way, I will get to spoilers in a little bit, but don't worry, if you haven't seen it yet, I'm not going to spoil it for you. You'll hear a very clear spoiler warning before we get to that point. So overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I liked the colorfulness of it. It felt like a comic book. I love the action sequences, very fun. And the cinematography was really good. I just felt like visually it was very beautiful. And the acting, especially from Margot Robbie playing Harley Quinn, she is just so excellent and fun. Like I could just watch her be Harley, just all day long. If there was some kind of 24-hour TV show for being Harley, that would be really crazy. But I don't know what I'm trying to say other than the fact that she's a great actress and I really enjoy her as Harley. I think that she really stole the spotlight on the Suicide Squad movie, and even though that movie didn't do too great, I feel like she was probably the highest point of that movie, and that's why they gave her this movie. Some people are saying this is kind of a reboot a spiritual reboot, in that the idea of having a bad guy team up didn't quite pan out successfully with the Suicide Squad, so they're trying it again, this time with women, and I don't know how I feel about that, although I do understand that the general idea of it. And they're doing it again, more bad guy team ups. I feel like we're heading in a direction where DC is not only gritty and dark, but maybe focusing on the bad guys with, the Joker movie, Suicide Squad. Now this, who knows what's next? Well, there's a sequel to Suicide Squad. And, the Marvel, of course, is focusing on the good guys, which is light and airy and bright and funny. It's just weird diversion. Maybe they're doing that on purpose to be different than Marvel, because DC knows Marvel is, sweeping the floor with them. So they're trying to be unique and find their own voice and brand, which is totally cool. And I do like the dark, gritty take on superheroes. It's definitely overdue. So this movie is really taking that, dialing it up to 11. And of course, we're focusing on villains or anti-heroes, but it is definitely, you see the darkness and the evil side of certain characters. So I can't hold it back any longer. Let's get to the details. Here's your spoiler warning. All right, so my first section I want to do is what I liked about the movie. As I said earlier, I love the action sequences. You can see what's happening. This is not a Jason Bourne fight scene where the camera is zoomed in really tight and the motion is fast and choppy and you don't know. It looks really cool, but you don't know what's happening. That's not this movie. There's a lot of wide-angle shots, full body and then some, and you see Harley just shooting people, kicking people, flipping around people's bodies, and then kicking them, and then shooting them later. It's just really well done choreography as well. The fight scenes were really well done. They were just on the edge of reality. Some elements were a little more make-believe, like the cocaine and the bouncing bat, and some other elements that were more fun and creative. They took some liberties with physics. That's okay. It is a comic book-based movie, so I'm fine with that. But yeah, for the most part, the fight scene was pretty believable and fun to watch. Again, like I said earlier, it was very colorful. It was just like a comic book in real life. So I really liked the visuals, the costume design, the colors, and the locations were just really, really nice on screen. They looked and felt great. Another thing that I liked, this is probably my biggest thing that I like about this movie, was the storytelling method that they used. This was a non-linear story, which means it does not have a beginning point. You learn stuff, you build a character, they come across some hardship, then they fix it, and then there's a happy ending. That's a line-based story. This is non-linear. So we're going maybe 5 minutes in, and then, here's this guy trying to kill me. So there's a backstory in him. And then that finishes, and it pops back to what we consider, current time. And then someone else, he's like, well, let me take you back. And it goes way back, like 20 years back, and it kind of jumps back and forth in time. And it's sort of like telling the pre-story before the big moment's about to happen so you understand it. And then the big story happens, and it's this really nice, satisfying payoff as far as storytelling and character building. And it sounds really messy and confusing, but it wasn't. I'm surprised, even though I consider myself a smart guy. Sometimes I do intellectually get lost in a story if it jumps around too much, if it's trying too hard to be, changing up the rhythm and changing the scenery. But I didn't feel like that at all with this movie. It was just a really fun ride. You kind of just go along with it, and you catch on pretty quickly to what this movie's doing. And of course, it's narrated by Harley, which makes it even funnier and just a little more dynamic. And that adds to the element of kind of breaking the fourth wall as well, and that she's talking to you. You're some kind of viewer. You're some kind of listener or moviegoer, and she's telling you what's going on or what happened. It's very much like Deadpool, and a lot of people have compared this to Deadpool, in that Harley Quinn is DC's Deadpool, which is kind of cool. Imagine them teaming up. That'd be interesting. Or a Harley pool. That would be such a perfect cosplay, and I do hope that one day I'll photograph one. Okay, a few other things that I really appreciated about the movie that stood out was the outfit that she wears before shooting the police station. Now, this is really weird and obscure, and, I don't know why I love this so much, but that long trench coat with that purple scarf and that cool hat she wears when she walks into the lobby, and then she shoots the guy backwards, and she takes it off afterwards, unfortunately, but that outfit is just so cool, and her makeup and everything just looks so beautiful, and I really like that look. Just aesthetically, I don't know why. It's just very stunning. Last is the music. Dude, the music was awesome in this movie. It was dynamic. It was orchestral. It was rock and roll and punk. It was just such a really cool blend. I don't know how this kind of music is made for this kind of movie. Like, is one composer, formatting these older songs and turning them into orchestral and turning them into, ballads? Like, they changed the style of some classic songs that you'll recognize in the movie. And I'm really curious how that's done and who actually does these songs. But they were just so cool. And I hope that they're all included on either the original soundtrack or the movie soundtrack for this, because I'm definitely going to check that out. The songs were just alternative enough, edgy enough, and creative that they kind of just complemented the whole story, and it really supported what was happening on screen really well with the pacing and the energy, things like that. So awesome job, music people, whoever that is, composer, I don't know, music pickers, if that's even a job. Who picks the tracks to use in a movie? I don't know. I need to ask Abby or Polina about that, because they would know. All right, some things that I didn't like. There was a lot of F-bombs. Now, for those of you who don't care about cursing, you're probably rolling your eye at this. I'm old-fashioned, I'm Christian, whatever. I don't know. I get annoyed when a script has a bunch of F-bombs to fill in the gaps, to add comedy or add suspense or just show utter frustration, which is what it does. I understand why it's there mostly, except for in movies like District 9, where it's just too much. This was like borderlining on that, where there was just like F-words after F-words. And I don't know, maybe it's lazy writing. That's what I kind of chalk it up to being. And I know these are all bad guys. Generally, there is not really any good person in the movie except for the police officer. She was like the only good, morally compassed person. But yeah, it was just a lot of F words, and it was kind of like, really, guys, come on, get a vocabulary here. The music video scene, I didn't like it. I just didn't see the purpose of it. Aesthetically, yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I felt like I was watching a Madonna music video with Ewan McGregor, who I love, by the way. But it just didn't make sense. And it was so quick. It was like 15 seconds. I'm thinking they probably spent a week or more coordinating, shooting, fixing the footage for this music video that they shot that went nowhere in the movie, and it didn't do anything for the story. She's unconscious. She kind of fades out and goes under, and she sees Ewan McGregor and her singing some song, and it's a really crazy, like, wild set. And then it goes back to normal, and it's like, okay, that's never touched on again. It's not a part of her fantasy. It's not like a funny joke she had or anything. It's just that, and then it's gone. Maybe they made it for the trailer, because I think it was in one of the trailers or the commercial. Yeah, just didn't really care for it. Now, if they made that as a separate video, like to advertise or support the whole film, like a legit full-length music video of that with dancing and stuff, that would be cool. I would totally dig that, especially, again, because I love Harley, and I love Ewan McGregor, especially as a villain. It's pretty funny. That would be cool to watch, but no, just about 15, 20 seconds, maybe not even that of this weird random music video. Last thing I didn't care about was the very ending. I didn't mind the resolution of it, but the very ending where Harley just, betrays. Surprise, surprise. I know she's a bad guy. I know. I'm used to Marvel superhero films. Everyone's good, but I am trying to adjust my view on this, so I am accepting it. But at the same time, it annoyed me because Harley betrays this brand new team that she put together. By the way, she steals Black Canary's car. She steals the diamond. And what does she do with the diamond? Does she get someone to read the numbers on the diamond and get access to this bank account? No, she sells it to a local jeweler and gets, I don't know, a few $100,000 cash. And now she's the next crime lord. She's basically filling in the gap where Black Mask is gone and Joker is gone. Now it's Harley, running the town or whatever. And she's her own crime lord, I'm assuming, going off to doing her own gangster stuff. But I just felt like that was such a drop. Like, first of all, stick together as a team, give us some hope for an actual legit Birds of Prey movie, because this is more like a Birds of Prey prequel, let's be honest. This was not a Birds of Prey movie. It was not about, it did not center around Birds of Prey. It centered around Harley and her breakup, and then just having to, out of sheer survival, put together the girls as some kind of hodgepodge team and fight their way out of a crazy, scary house at an amusement park. So this was like a Birds of Prey prequel that I did enjoy. Again, I have dislikes and likes of this, although mostly it is positive. So what was I saying? The very ending. So I just didn't really care how that ended, and it was kind of a letdown. It was a funny ending because she's driving off with a kid, but then when you think about it, she's legitimately kidnapping this kid. Like, not that the kid is, fighting it, Cassandra Cain. I'm sure she's having a great time not being as a crappy, abusive, foster home, but help the kid. I don't know, get some kind of justice on the parents. But no, that doesn't happen. Instead, she just keeps this minor away from home. Who knows? Her parents don't know where she is, and she's living a life of crime. Sidekick to what we can assume is the lead criminal in town. By the way, where is Joker? Did it explain where he went? I'm even forgetting what happened to him at the end of Suicide Squad. It's been, I think it was like 2 or 3 years since that movie came out. So maybe I'm just an idiot and forgot about what really happened at the end of Suicide Squad. But where is Joker? Why did they break up? We don't know that either. It's just said that it happened and she's dealing with it. There was, interestingly enough, a photo taken of the set where Joker was, Jared Leto's Joker was on set throwing some of her stuff out the window. Like, it was like her beaver and some other funny things, tossing it out the window. But they cut that scene to keep her Joker out of the movie, just to have it, purely no Joker, which I'm fine with. But that's just weird that he was on set. He did do makeup and costume, and they didn't use it. Speaking of makeup and costume, Harley's makeup takes like 3+ hours to put on. And there's a wig, which that is a good wig. I thought that was her real hair. But there's a wig involved and the costuming and everything else that follows. It's a long, long process just to get made up for shooting. And, they probably only shoot for a few hours a day or as long as they can stand. And then it's all over again for the next day. It's a lot of hard work doing movies like this. I'm sure there's multiple moments where actors just get the feeling that I want to quit, or why did I sign up for this? It's just too hard. So you got to give props where props are due when it comes to the acting career. It's not easy. Okay, so what would I have changed if I could change anything about this movie? And this is something I'm going to start adding to all our movie review episodes, because after seeing Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, as much as I absolutely loved it, I saw it twice. I would love to see it again if I could. But I got to thinking, there are some simple tweaks to this story that would have made the movie just like so much better, so much more consistent, and this and that. And again, those are totally my preference. I'm totally an armchair director right here, but I figured I'm going to start adding this in. So what would I have changed if I could change anything to improve it? Is the car. The little car, the toy car that was given to young Helen, I think it was Helena, who turns into Huntress. There's like this purple like Hot Wheels car that's given to her right before everyone gets shot and killed. She holds on to it for all these years, and later she gives it to Cassandra Cain as some kind of memento of hope. We don't know what it means to her. We barely even see the full thing. Like, I'm assuming it's a car. At first, I thought it might have been like a secret memory chip that actually held the bank account information. It was handed off to the daughter, thinking that she would survive or be able to hide it, and getting it off the parents. But no, it's just some kind of toy or car, and it has no meaning whatsoever. She gives it to Cassandra, and there's kind of some sentimental value that we assume. But again, we don't really know what it did for her. So I don't know what the purpose of that was. I really hope that actually would have turned out to containing like the serial number on the bottom of the car would have been the bank account information or something. That would have been super cool. And it would have been this great twist, whereas the diamond didn't have any significance as far as the bank account's concerned. and the bad guys chasing after it to try to get a hold of this family's money would have had no luck anyway, even if they got the diamond. That would have been hilarious to me. And I would have liked that. It would have kind of just tied up loose ends. Well, not that the diamond was a loose end, but it would have been a cooler ending, in my opinion. Love to hear what you guys think about that. Am I an idiot? Or is that something you never thought about? Or did you feel that same feeling of what is this thing she's getting? It's like purple, pink, and metal, about smaller than a credit card. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Now, there's a lot of themes in this movie because it is such a psychological movie. There's a lot of drama and, character relations, good, bad, and ugly. So the main theme that I picked up on was, of course, the breakup and the identity crisis that Harley has. She is a mentally unstable individual. And I love the irony of her character because she worked as a mental health, assistant of some kind. I forgot if she was a psychiatrist or what she did at the Arkham Asylum for Joker and the other patients there. But she worked to help people get through mental illness. And now here she is, kind of all her childhood issues have just, bust out. Now she is, I don't like to use the word crazy in this context. I feel like it's disrespectful for those who do suffer with mental illness and are true victims. But she's just as crazy as all those people that were put into Arkham Asylum that she tried to treat and care for. And now she's, quote unquote, one of them. So she's dealing with this identity now that she is broken up with Joker. She doesn't have protection. So she's facing all kinds of, vengeance and or revenge and threats and, consequences of her terrible actions, of all the crazy things she did to people throughout the years. Which, by the way, did she ever do anything mean to a female? I feel like they were all guys that she wronged and that wanted to kill her. And I'm getting on a tangent here, although it is a popular tangent, and that a lot of people's criticisms for this movie is that the quote unquote good guys or the better guys of the movie are actually the women, whereas the true bad guys and the evil and the villain and the bad guys are all men. And I kind of see that. I'm sure there's a few exceptions in there somewhere. I mean, there's that nice guy that makes her the sandwich and, even the Chinese guy that owned her building, even he sold out to her. So it's just a lot of guys they're not good. And all the women are the people who have to deal with it and have to get through and, kind of be a little bit more the protagonist. So putting that on the aside, or just rather putting it on the table, I'll just leave it there because I don't know really where to go with that. But Harley's got an identity issue. Now she's independent. Now she's on her own and she needs to find her own way. Is she going to continue crime? Is she going to live up to the identity, the reputation that she's built for herself, which is not a great reputation, as we find out, in terms of what she's done to people. Another theme is the consequences of your actions, which kind of ties in with what I just said about her previous, abuse and murdering and all times terrible stuff that she did to people through the years that's now coming back onto her. And I do like that we're seeing consequences. I feel like there is kind of a lack of consequences, especially for, bad guys and anti-heroes and stories like this, where they just kind of just coast free. There's no one on their tail. There's no one holding grudges against them. Maybe one grudge and it's like another villain and he's out of the picture and that's it. There's no like people below them. There's no family members that have a grudge or a hit out on their head, anything like that. But we definitely see consequences coming into play majorly. And I enjoyed seeing that kind of element of, reality brought into this wild, non-reality story. And the other themes are sort of just echoes of the other ones, things like mental health, trauma, things like that. We see Black Canary not wanting to do anything. She almost passes up Harley Quinn being, date raped and kidnapped and taken in by that guy after the bar. She's being taken into this van and Black Canary's just looking back in her rearview mirror, just thinking, ugh, do I really have to should I help her? Should I not? Do I need to get involved? I don't want to get involved. That's the kind of vibe that I got. And we do find out, and I actually missed this in watching the movie. My wife told me later. She said that her mother got involved and got active towards justice, and she actually helped the police do some kind of sting or operation or whatever. And as a result of giving her intel or expertise to the police, her mother died. And so Black Canary has, rightfully so, an issue with getting involved in crime and things like this. Fighting it, pushing back, trying to help the good guys, anything like that. Doing anything good is hard for her, I think, because of the trauma that she experienced. And, all the characters have some level of trauma, especially Helena, seeing her parents and family just get shot up right in front of her. And somehow she survives. How did she not get hit? I don't know, but she didn't. And, that's some serious trauma that affects her. You can tell the character of Helena is socially inept. She is just different. She's kind of weird. She's kind of out of touch. She's just sort of dry and doesn't have a lot of personality because what has she been doing since she was like, what, 8 years old? She's been training to be basically a ninja, like almost like Batman's training over in the East somewhere. I think she was in Spain, Italy. I don't remember where. But she's been training to get vengeance on her family, which I do like that story. Honestly, a Huntress movie would have been pretty sweet. Add a little bit more personality and spunk to her, and give her a little more fleshed out details. That would be a sweet movie. Just seeing that happen. The revenge for the four guys who killed her family. But it's just like a little tidbit, thrown in the movie. It's kind of you see it and then it's gone. So let's talk about the individual characters. So Harley, something that I noticed about Harley is that she is a bad guy through and through. Now, it's not really, should be really a surprise. Again, I'm kind of in my Marvel mode where even if there's a quote unquote bad guy or anti-hero, they're going to end up coming out on top and, a sunny, nice ending with like good morals and stuff like that at the end. That doesn't happen here, like I said earlier. But think about this. She sells out Cassandra Cain. Like she's willing to just turn her in to break free of this whole, baggage that's following her. And she's going to, but she ends up not, thankfully. And at the end, of course, she steals the car and, betrays her friends and leaves them. So not a good role model. And this is interesting about this movie is that I feel like the feminist group or people wanting to add the feminist label to market this movie to make it more, edgy or popular, they're adding that, this is a movie about strong, independent women that they don't need to be rescued. They don't need a man to give them value or identity. They can be awesome, butt kicking, powerful, and, stand on their own women on their own. And that's true to a point. These are not the kind of strong, independent women you want to be role models for yourself or your daughters. I mean, I hope. Like, it's weird cheering on a character and saying, yeah, I love Harley Quinn. I love the Joker. Like, it's weird that we attach affection and interest to these characters that do bad things. I know there's a separation from reality and fiction, but at the same time, I don't know. I'm not as comfortable saying that I like, things that are dark because I even though they're fictional, I know what they stand for. They stand for evil. They stand for selfishness. They stand for betrayal, materialism, things like that. And I just can't support those even with my fandom. That's just me. What do you guys feel about that? I'd love to hear about y'all's opinion on your fandom level when it contradicts your own personal morals. That'd be a pretty good episode, I think, on its own. Maybe with some specific examples and some different voices here to weigh in on that. That would be pretty good. But yeah, she's a bad girl. She's doing all kinds of crummy stuff throughout, before, during, and after. And even though she's super fun to watch and well played, she's just another villain, and she's got her issues and doesn't come out on top in the end as far as her character being, redemptive qualities or anything like that. We already talked about Huntress, Black Canary. We talked about a little bit, not a whole lot there because the character building was pretty thin on these characters. We just get like the exterior surface level of what they're about, where they came from, and maybe what are they about to do. That's about all we know, if anything. Renee, I think her name was Renee, was a police officer. She was the only good guy in the whole movie. And even though she kind of hits rock bottom and throws back some drinks because she lost her job and, was basically betrayed in her police department, she's an admirable character. She's trying to do what's right, no matter what it takes to get to that goal. So I like her. Maybe I'm forgetting something she did that was bad or morally questionable, but I can't think of any. Let me know if I'm, just having a major brain fart right now and forgetting some dirt on her. But I enjoyed her character. She was funny. I kind of like the trope that they made fun of her being like an 80s movie cop, always saying the one-liner and stuff like that. That was cool. All right, so that's it for the character discussions. There really wasn't a lot there, but we kind of already covered some of the basics before, and there was a little bit thin, a little bit lightweight on the character building in this movie, other than Harley. This movie was kind of an opposite, kind of a counterpart to the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. And what I mean by that is the way they portray the villain, the main character villains, and their mental issues. So I have not seen Joker, so maybe I'm wrong here, but from what I've gathered from my wife seeing it and other reviews and things like that, it's basically you get to understand why he is the way he is. I'm guessing you see his trauma, you see his, mental state collapsing or degrading, and I don't know if he's giving in or, chasing some kind of goal he has with his mental illness, if he's delusional or what. but you do kind of, from what I've heard, you are drawn to sympathize, with him, and to understand. Oh, okay, that's where he's coming from. Is he really the bad guy? Is he the bad guy, or is Bruce Wayne's dad the bad guy for doing what he did? Great discussion, awesome psychological themes for a movie. I need to see Joker. I really need to. I don't get out much these days with 4 kids. It's hard to get to the theater, but this movie is sort of the opposite in that instead of sympathizing with the evil stuff that he does, we're seeing where Harley came from, and she's making these decisions on her own. And I don't know, I just felt like it was a little bit different take on a few different themes regarding mental illness and the villain. But to sum it up, I just feel like this was a Harley Quinn movie. And one of my thoughts was, that really long, super drawn out title for the original movie was Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Very wordy, very exact. And, that sort of mimics Harley because she is very smart. She has a PhD. She has the experience. And a few times in the movie, she gets to kind of drop some knowledge on us. She kind of diagnoses a few people, uses some big words and some medical phrases. And I like that. It's cool because she's not totally gone. She's still her smart self with the knowledge of psychological stuff. So I like that, but it's sort of like that. It's like she wrote the name of this title because it's very wordy. It's very scholarly sounding. But I feel like this should have just been called The Emancipation of Harley Quinn, something like that. Because I just did not get the vibe that this was truly a Birds of Prey movie. It was a prequel movie for Birds of Prey, which could be the sequel. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, it's just, they don't really become Birds of Prey until almost the last half of the third act of the movie, which is basically the end, that last fight sequence, which was like bonkers and crazy. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of hard to follow what was happening because it was so fast paced. There's a lot of cuts and camera movement, but that set design was awesome. It was fun to watch. All 4 women just fighting together, protecting Cassandra. The hair tie thing was hilarious. There was a lot of good comedy in this movie, which is, of course, to be expected. And a little bit of fourth wall breaking. I think there's at least one moment where she looks right at the camera and reacts to us. And this is not necessarily a narrative piece, but it's in the story, live, present time. She talks to the camera or reacts to the camera. And that was fun too. So again, a little Deadpool cameo, a little Deadpool inspired comedy there. But yeah, I laughed out loud a few times for sure and was on the edge of my seat for a few moments. Ewan McGregor did such a great job at being a terrible, creepy villain. And it was funny, but also terrible with the snot booger thing. I think there was about 3 times in the movie where he just says, ew, which is great. He's like this pristine, clean cut, well-dressed guy that, runs businesses, makes money, great cars. And he just can't stand germs. He can't stand boogers, snot bubbles, anything gross or dirty. He's not about that. So that was pretty funny. And his side guy, Zaz, was just creepy and evil, removing people's faces, pretty twisted. And not a lot of mercy there. It's just they really painted a bad guy that you wanted to hate. You wanted to, be dead. But at the same time, him being a lesser known villain in the DC world, at least to, the general audience of DC moviegoers, there just wasn't a whole lot of weight to him being defeated. And I didn't really feel for him, although he was fun to watch. But I think that pretty much sums up this quick solo review. Couldn't get anyone else on the team to watch the movie in time, and my wife wasn't available. So just me. Hope you enjoyed it. Let us know. Let me know your thoughts on the movie. Good, bad, ugly. What'd you like? What'd you love? What would you like to have changed about the movie? Always interesting to hear people's, alternate ending headcanon about movies, how it should have ended kind of thing. So let me know. You can comment on the social media posts for this episode, or you can email us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Hope to hear from you guys soon. Have a great week. If you like this show, be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app. You can also find our previous episodes there and listen whenever you want. We love to hear from our listeners, so if you have any comments or suggestions for future episodes, you can reach us at tvvpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening and have a great week. Actually get lost. Is that my wife? Of course it is. Always calling in the podcast. Hey, honey. Guess what I'm doing? I'm recording my podcast, which you always call in the middle of.